the one, the only, Ben Okay, good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube, Just Daf It. Today we're doing Sotah Daf It number 9, a little bit of a long daf. I'm here basking in the amazing warmth of America. It's not actually warm outside, 50 degrees. I'm actually thinking in Fahrenheit for the first time in a year and a half. I'm always thinking Celsius. You know, when I see the chickens my mother's making for Pesach, I see pounds. I'm like, what's a pound? Kilos, 2.2 pounds. It's hard to figure it out, price per pound. The world runs on the metric system. It's America who runs on the imperial or standard system. Only America does it. It's kind of an adjustment. You got America and you got the rest of the world. If you live in America your whole life, basically, you're accustomed to thinking that this is the whole world. America is the whole world. It takes living out of Israel, out of America for like 5-7 years, which I've been doing. About 7 years I've been out of America, to really figure out exactly that there's a world outside of America, and most of the world lives outside of America. There's only 330 million people who live in America. There's 8.8 billion people live in the world. So it's actually, I think, pretty important for every American to step out of American life for a while. America is probably a pretty good country, maybe the best country in the world to live in. But at the end of the day, you don't become cultured and a worldly person if you live your entire life in America. You have to live abroad for at least 5 years. That's what I believe. You know, I went to shul this morning. The people, man, they dress awful. They don't know how to dress, these people. You know, these people wear all the ugly sneakers, ugly pants, weird sneakers, jeans, some button-down shirt that looks horrendous. You know, they wear colored clothing, but, you know, I'm saying they don't pay attention. They're wearing sweatshirts, they're wearing jeans, they're wearing white sneakers. They don't know how to dress. They're not Americans. They think the world just runs in America, but there's a world outside America. You gotta learn to dress like me. All right, let's get started. Chadam and Bees on the bottom. Where are we? Chadam and Bees on the bottom. The first wide line. Tanya, how do you know that the way a person acts in this world, the same measure that he measures for himself, Hashem measures for him? We'll see both for the bad and for the good. Jenemar b'saseh b'shalcha terivena. Saseh literally means a measure. B'shalcha terivena. When Hashem sends them away, destroys them, terivena, He'll contend with them in the same way that they measured out for themselves. Eliyah asah. Asah is a big measure, meaning a big misdeed. Minayin l'rabos tirkov v'chatzi tirkov. A tirkov is half a asah. V'chatzi tirkov is a quarter of a asah. Kav v'chatzi kav. A kav is a smaller unit. Chatzi kav is half of that unit. Rova is rova kav, a fourth of that unit. V'chatzi rova, an eighth of that unit. Toman v'uchla, or even smaller units. How do you know even for small misdeeds, Hashem pays you back mida keneged mida? Minayin. And Talmud lomar ki kol soon v'rash. Sown is a smaller type of saw. Every type of small measurement, barash, Hashem will pay you back in a thunderous way. We're going to see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu waits for the final punishment. Sometimes he punishes all at once. Even little sins combined to form a bigger sin, a bigger punishment. Talmud lomar achas la'achas limso cheshbon. One by one, they add up for a cheshbon, for an account. Same thing we find by a Sotah. Whatever she tried to do in her sin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu paid her back. Mida keneged mida. He amdal pesach beisa liroslo. She stood at the entrance of her house, the gate of her house, all dressed up nicely, dressed up nice for her adulterer. He stands there at Shar Nikanor, which is a wide open gate by the Azara. Mara kilon on the chol. They strip her naked. He pierced a little sudar and nayin al rosha. She put some nice scarves, headscarves around on her head. He takes the yarmulke off her head. She wears a yarmulke. Doesn't mean a yarmulke. It means she wears, some sort of headdress, a bow or something like that, or a headband or something like that. He puts it under her feet. He kished a little bit. She put on makeup. Lefichach panea morikos. When she dies, her face becomes sallow, becomes yellow. He kichlaloe now. She put on blush. Fichach eineha boltos. Therefore, her eyes, when she gets punished and ultimately dies, they bulge out. He killed Sarah. She braided her hair, or made her hair into a bun. Lefichach kohen soser Sarah. Before he gives her the Sotah, he takes out her braids. He hears solo be'etzba. She said, "Come here." Lefichach sipornea noshot. When she dies, her whole body disassembles, including her fingernails. He chigrolo b'tziltzul. She wore a nice robe with a nice little belt. He takes an Egyptian robe. He ties it above her breasts. He she revealed her thigh, and what is on the top of her thigh. And therefore, one of the first things that happens is that her thigh falls down. It's just, the muscle, the atrophies. He kibalto al kresa. She accepted her love mate, her adulterer, on her stomach, lie on her stomach when they're together. Her belly swells. She fed him delicacies. They had a nice meal before they were together. The carbon she brings is made from barley, which is animal food. She gave him fancy wine, aged wine. Bekosas mishubachim, fancy goblets. Leficha kohen mashka mayim hara, mayim amarim, makeda shacheres. The Sotah is bitter water, and you drink it out of a cup of earthenware. He asked b'seiser. She did it in private. Yoshev b'seiser elyon, sam ba'aponim. The Kadosh Baruch Hu, who is normally hidden, he pays attention to her and he kills her. Shenemar v'ayin noef shamar neshef. The eye of an adulterer, shamar neshef. Lemor lo tishreni ayin. She conceals herself in the dark. So no one's going to see me. Davar acher. Another way of explaining, he asa b'seiser. She did it in private. Amakom pirsma b'gali. He revealed her. Shenemar tekases sina b'mashon tegala rasa b'kal. Someone who covers up what would make them hate it, mashon, in privacy, their iniquity will be revealed in public. Once one pasuk tells us that small sins add up. He calls so and so and barash lamali. Why does it tell me that each small sin is paid back? L'kamida, to tell you that it's not just paid back; it's paid back the exact corresponding to what the sin was. You're paid back in that fashion, like we saw by Sotah. Why did the first pasuk? If small measurements add up and you get retribution for those, certainly for big averos you do, and certainly would be in the K'mida K'neged Mida. You need it Chinina Bar Papa. Chinina Bar Papa ain't HaKadosh Baruch Hu from an Ummah ad shas shilucha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't pay back in total to a nation until the time when it's time for the nation to crumble. Shenemar b'saseh b'shilcha, right? When they fill up their measure of averos, then Hashem sends the nation never to be rebuilt again. Rome was destroyed forever. It says, Rava says there's 3 kosos that are mentioned in the dream by Paro, by Yosef. Why? One cup of wine they drank in Moshe when Paro was defeated. Later on, the kingdom of Egypt also collapsed again. And eventually, in the time of the Mashiach, Egypt will be destroyed a 3rd time. You see what? Egypt was not completely decimated. It was decimated partially. Only after 3 decimations at the end of time, then it will be completely decimated. Maybe the first kingdoms in Egypt were different ones. These are new kingdoms. They just happened to be in Egypt. But is this really true? Rabbi Yehuda says, I had a chavrusa. He was an Egyptian convert, along with me as the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. Amar Minyamin Ger Mitzri said, Ani Mitzri Rishon. I'm a 1st generation convert from Egypt. My wife is also a 1st generation convert. Asi lebni mitzvah shnias. I had a son. I'm going to give my son a daughter who was also the daughter of converts, the Egyptian converts, they should have ben b'ni mutter levo bakal, so that the third generation, their grandkid, would be mutter, right? And a third generation convert from Egypt is allowed to marry the kal. So you see, Egypt, the same Egyptians, right, which the Torah talked about, are still around. We have to change what really Rav Chinna Bar Papa said. I'm Rav Chinna Bar Papa ain't Hakadosh Baruch Hu from a melech achas shilucha. When Hakadosh Baruch Hu pays back a king to punish him, it's only at the time where he's completely destroyed. Shenemar b'sasar b'shachat, and that's the pasuk. Ameimar masni lahad Rav Chinna Bar Papa ha. Ameimar taught Rav Chinna Bar Papa was teaching about something else. Ma'idich keni Hashem lo shenisi. Hashem says, I didn't repeat, meaning I destroyed the non-Jews at one time. And Bnei Yaakov, the children of Israel, I didn't destroy them. Ani Hashem lo shenisi. What does that mean? Lo kesi luma v'shenisi lo. I destroy a nation at one time. I don't destroy it once and then repeat it. Atem Bnei Yaakov lo chalisim. And you, the children of Israel, I didn't destroy permanently. Hani d'chsev chatzi akal abam. My arrows I'll finish with Klal Yisrael. Chatzi kalin, right? The arrows are finished. Vehinan and kalin. Klal Yisrael remains forever. Amarav, according to this memra of Rav Chinna Bar Papa, it means the same thing, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not wipe them out. Now, of course, we still have the question from Mitzrayim, but the Gemara really doesn't record how we would resolve this pasuk. The Gemara leaves it as an open question. A lot of times the Gemara does. Amar Rav Hamnun, HaKadosh Baruch Hu different from an Adam, a person that Hashem doesn't pay back. We talk about a king, he only pays him back at one time. So a person also, he does a lot of averos, he only pays him back until he fills up a measure. When he finishes up his safeh, his sipuk, right, his attainment, so then HaKadosh Baruch Hu cause pain to him. Darash Rabbi Chinna Bar Papa, Ma'idich Ranu Tzadikim Hashem L'Sharm Nava Sihila, Al Tekri Nava Sihila, Ela Navet Tehila. Right, you should sing. Tzadikim should sing. Right, Nava. Not that they created a beautiful thing for HaKadosh Baruch Hu by praising Hashem. Naveh is a house. No one was able to consume the houses of Moshe and David. David tivu ba'aretz sharet, as is an eicha, and this is a reference to David HaMelech's house, his palace. That instead of the enemies taking the items from his palace, they were buried in the ground. Moshe Amar Mar Mishnivda Mikdash Rishon Nignaz Oel Moed. Once the base of Israel was built, the Oel Moed, whatever was used to build the Oel Moed, was hidden in Geniza, was stored away. Kroshav, the beams, the krosim, the hooks, Brichav, Amudav, and the Briach, the poles, Amudav, the pillars, Vadonov, and the sockets. They're all stored away somewhere. Heicha, where are they? Amar of Chista, Amar of Imitachas Mechila Shal Heicha. If you ever go under, you can go through the Kotel tunnels underneath the Heichal, really where the Heichal was. If you look very carefully, you'll find the Oel Moed, the things from the Oel Moed. Sotah nasna ina b'misha. We'll get back to Sotah over now. Sotah nasna ina b'misha enu royala. She gave her eyes. She looked at someone who was not fitting for her. She was married to another man. Masha biksha la nisun. Whatever she attempted to get, she didn't end up getting. Now she's being killed. Whatever she had, they took. Her husband is gone. Anyone who looks and tries to get what is not his, what he's seeking, he doesn't end up getting. Whatever he had until now, he ends up losing. Top of 10 Amud Beis, the Nachash in the story of Gan Eden. He went after Chava. He didn't get Chava. We're going to see in a second what he lost. I said the Nachash should be the king of the animals. One of the curses is that it's cursed from all the animals. It should stand upright. Now the snake crawls on its belly. It should eat what people eat. Now the curse was, it should eat dirt. Who Amar I'll kill man and marry Chava. Right? There's no one who hates a snake more than a woman. Women hate all bugs or insects. Definitely a snake the most. All of these people, they try to get what was not theirs. What they wanted, they didn't end up getting. What they had in their hands was taken from them. If you don't know who these people are, Cain, right? He tried to kill Hevel. He didn't end up getting what he wanted. Korach he ended up getting swallowed by the earth. He wanted the kahuna. He wanted to lead Klal Yisrael. Bilam cursed Klal Yisrael, ended up getting killed. Doag and Achitofel. These were Talmidei Chacham. Doag and Achitofel. They ended up losing to David. Gehazi. He was the servant of Elisha, and he ended up getting tzaras. Avshalom wanted to take over the throne from David. He ended up getting killed. Adoniyahu, also a son of David, wanted to take the throne. He got killed. Uzziah wanted to become a Kohen. He got tzaras. Haman, you know the story of Purim. So the Gemara says, the Mishnah says she sinned first with her thigh, and then with her stomach. So she gets paid back when she dies, the Sotah, if she's guilty. So she gets punished. First her thigh atrophies, and then her stomach swells. Minanamili. Where do you know this in this pasuk? The pasuk says, Hashem will let your thigh atrophy, and then your stomach swell. The pasuk also says that first her belly swells, and then her thigh atrophies. When you say the curse, you say what's going to happen first. What is responsible first? Yarech v'hadar batan. First the yarech, right? The man, penetrated the woman on the top of her thighs in the vulva. V'hadar batan, and then the semen went into her womb. Layit sheshikurt. However, the pasuk here is talking about when she drinks the water, right? She gets punished right away, and first the water goes into her stomach. So that happens first. First the stomach, and then the thigh. But by the call it also says, so the Torah warns you. Why is the Torah warning you in that way? The Gemara says, that pasuk is to teach the Kohen that what's going to happen in actuality. First, it's going to be that her belly will swell, and then her thigh will atrophy, because that's the normal way of it happening, because she drinks the water through her mouth. That's just to tell the Kohen, but that's what's actually going to happen. But the curse, right? She's cursed first from her yerach. That's where she started the avera. The Mishnah says Shimshon halach achareinav. Shimshon also went after his eyes. Lefichach nakru plishim. It says mida kneged mida. His eyes were taken out at the end. They knocked out his eyes. Avshalom nizga b'saro. Avshalom became proud. He was too proud of his hair. He ended up dying by hanging by his hair. Not only that, he was together with 10 of his father's concubines, David's concubines. They pierced him with 10 swords. He stole 3 things. He tricked his father. Lev Basin, he tricked Basin. Lev Yisrael, he tricked all of Yisrael. Not only that, he had 3 staffs inserted in them. 3 staffs were inserted into his heart, sharp staffs. Not only is there midah connected midah by bad, but also by good. Miriam hemtina l'Moshe sha'achas. She waited for Moshe 1 hour. Right, once they put him in the Nile River in the beginning, right, when he was born, so she stood far away to see what was going to happen. Klal Yisrael stayed 7 years in the Midbar. 7 yomim, 7 days. Right, she got saras. They waited for her 7 days till she healed, till they traveled further. Until Miriam came back into Klal Yisrael. Yosef was able to bury his father. He was the greatest, right? He was the leader of the viceroy in Egypt. Yosef went to bury his father. Right? He went with chariots and horsemen. Yosef. Right? Right? What was the reward that he got? That Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest person, he dealt with his bones. He personally buried him. Moshe Zacha Ba'atzamos Yosef. Vein Yisrael Gadol Mimeno. Right? What did Moshe do? Moshe did something good, right? He took upon himself to bury Yosef. There was no greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. Shneimar Yikol Moshe Atzmos Yosef Imo. Right? Mi Gadol Mi Moshe Zazik V'Alakam Makom. So how did he get paid back? Hashem himself buried him. Shneimar Yikol Osa Bagai. He buried him in the valley. Lo al Moshe Belvada Amar. Ella al Kol Tzadikim. Not only is Hashem buried Moshe, but Hashem buries all the Tzadikim. Shneimar V'Alach V'Vana Tzidkecha Kod Hashem Yasvecha. If you're a Tzadik, Hashem's honor will take you in. Now, I don't think it means it's guaranteeing that you're going to have a great life after you die. It just means that Hashem your burial will be a lot of honor. If you ever go to Tzaddikim, they have hundreds of thousands or millions sometimes people escorting them to their final destination. Doesn't mean it's a guarantee what happens after them. It's just saying in this world they get a lot of honor. Where it says, Tana Rabbanan, Shimshon be'enav morad. Shimshon rebelled with his eyes. You're going to see there were at least 3 women that Shimshon was with. Shimshon is a paradigm of Nazir. Nazir Shimshon. Was Shimshon a good person, a bad person? We'll talk about that in Enoch Ben Zion, a little history lesson. You're not going to want to miss it. I have something really revealing to tell you about that. But history, really what Nach is. Is Nach a separate story, or is it just a further detailing of what happens in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah? I wouldn't give it away. Who actually was Shimshon? Is Shimshon mentioned in Parshas Lech Lecha? Is he? Yes, he is. I'll tell you who he is in a second. In Enoch Ben Zion, you don't have to wait for that. The art scroll quickly points out over here, obviously Shimshon is the biggest tzaddik in the world, and it's just to show you that every person has small sins. He got paid back for his sins also. I don't know if Shimshon was the biggest tzaddik, the greatest person in the world. He said to his father, I want this Isha Timnasa, because she's good in my eyes. Therefore, they dislodge his eyes. They poked at his eyes. They didn't know that Shimshon strategically did this. He wanted to marry a Plishti woman so he can get inside their group and kill them. So he had good intentions. He didn't do anything wrong. So the Gemara answers, Ki azal miya basar yashruse azal. Originally, he did it because he wanted the woman. And then he said, it also makes sense strategically. So he was punished for that. Tanya, Rabbi Yomer, Tchilas Kalkulo ba'aza. He began to make a mistake in Azal. Afichach laka ba'aza. Therefore, he ended up Aza. Aza nowadays is really, in English, they call it Gaza. That's where he was, Gaza. Palestinians. Plishtim were the Palestinians. It's not over. It's still continuing. He started in Aza. That's where he went with the first Isha. Shimshon Azasa, V'yarsham Isha Zona. Before Timnasa, he actually found a prostitute there. When they captured him, they poked at his eyes, they brought him to Azza, but the Pasuk said, first he went to the woman who was from Timnah, that wasn't Azza. When it says, his first descent from his moral stature was in Azza. The third lady he loved was Nachal Sorik, Vashmad Delilah. Tanya Rabbi Omer El Mali Nikra Shma Delila Ruya Haisha Delila. Even if her name wasn't Delila, it would have been an appropriate name for her. The Dildala is Kocho. Dildal, she removed his strength. Dildala is Libo. She cut off his heart. Dildala is Masav. She cut off his good actions. Dildala is Kocho Dechsiv Vayasar Kocho Me'elav. She removed his power. Dildala is Libo Dechsiv Vatei Delila Ki La is called Libo. He revealed all his secrets. He told her he's a Nazir. Dildalas Masa, the Stalik Shechina, meaning once she cut his hair, he lost the Shechina. The Siva, who lo yada ke Hashem sar me'alav. Hashem removed himself from him. Terra Dlila Kihigila as Kol Libo. Meno yada. How did she know that he told her the truth? Amar Rav Chana, Amar Rabbi Nikarin Divrei Emes. He says, when people say the truth, you can decipher the truth. When Donald Trump speaks and he says the truth, you know it's the truth. When Andrew Tate says certain things. Not everything he says I agree with, but certain things, you know it's the truth. The truth is evident. When Ben Seal Lang speaks, you know everything he says is true. And he Karin Devra MS, you know it's true what I'm saying. Abaya Amar Yoda Kiboso Tzadik Delo Mapik Shem. Abaya says a different way she knew. He wouldn't say we never say God's name in vain. Came into Amar Nazir Elokim Ani. He mentions Hashem's name in regards to Nazir. She knew it must be telling the truth, otherwise it would be for naught. Amra Hashta Vade Kushtak Amar. Now he's telling the truth. Vayiki Hitzika Lo Bidvarim Kol Yamim. She would pester him all the time to reveal the secrets. And what did she do also to pester him? She made him exhausted. My Vital what does that mean? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak B'Debei Rabbi Ami. B'shas Gemar Bia Nishmatam Mitachta. I mean, this is pretty serious punishment. He's being together with Leela, the woman he loves, and when he's ready for the Gemar Bia to ejaculate, at that point, she let him go, and he wasn't able to finish it inside of her. He got sick of it. He said, I need my wife. I need my Delila. Now it goes back to the mother of Shimshon was warned that you shouldn't, right, by the Malach, you shouldn't drink wine and beer. Don't eat any foods which are tummy. My called tummy. What is called kol tummy? Everything that's impure. Maybe she kept the Torah. Who says she ate dvarim tmeim? Tummy means things that are asur b'nazir. He was nazir Shimshon. He was nazir mebet, and her mother even couldn't eat grape products. Now we're going to talk about Shimshon, the stories. Hashem broke open the hollow in the jawbone of the donkey. They used to kill 1,000 Palestinians. Plishtim. I'm saying Palestinians, but I mean the old Palestinians. Plishtim. To kill 1,000 Plishtim. Asher Balachi. So Amar Yitzchak Deber Yami, he who Eva ledavar tamei lefich nitlu chaya b'davar tamei. A miracle happened after he killed the Plishtim, so he was very thirsty and he was about to die. So water miraculously came out of the hollow where the tooth was of the jawbone of the donkey. Who Eva ledavar tamei? He wanted a davar tamei. He wanted that woman. Therefore, a donkey, a miracle that happened through an impure thing. Hashem's spirit began to rest upon Shimshon. The beginning of the nevuah that was told to Yaakov Avinu. He was from Shevet Dan, right? He'll be like a snake. He was like a snake. He hid himself among the Plishtim in order to camouflage himself as a Plishti in order to kill them. The Shekhinah was completely enveloped and it would lead him like a bell. By the Kohen Gadol, it says he wore Pamon Varimon, right? Pamon is a bell. Ben Siro Ben Eshtoel. That's the location he was. What were these places? They were mountains. He was so strong, he lifted them up and he mashed them ones against each other, just to show how strong he was. We're going to talk more about the story of Shimshon, but I will tell you in Enoch Ben Sia, my perspective on who Shimshon really was. He's actually someone mentioned in the Torah Shebachtav, in Chamisha Chumshei Torah and Sefer Bereshis. I'll tell you my opinion who he was, and based on that, explain what exactly the Nevi'im, or at least some of the Nevi'im, are doing. You don't want to miss this year. Enoch Ben Sia coming up next.